Let's start our diagnosis with patient zero Uber. On the surface, it seems like a dream job. Be your own boss, set your own hours, make money with your car. But peek under the hood and you'll find an engine of exploitation. Uber takes a cut of every fare, sometimes up to 25%. Then they deduct fees, tolls, and other expenses. What's left is often less than minimum wage. And that's before factoring in the cost of gas, car maintenance, and depreciation. Surge pricing, acceptance rates, cancellation penalties. It's a Byzantine system designed to keep drivers guessing and grinding. The result? Drivers working 60, 70, even 80 hours a week just to make ends meet. They're not driving towards financial freedom, they're careening towards burnout, debt, and despair. Welcome to the gig economy, where the American dream comes with a side of crippling anxiety and no benefits. Now, let's turn our plague doctor's gaze to DoorDash. You might think delivering food is a simple transaction. Pick up food, deliver food, get paid. But in the twisted world of DoorDash, it's more like a game of three-card Monty, where the house always wins. DoorDash's pay model is more complex than a plague doctor's remedy. Base pay, tips, peak pay, challenges. It's a dizzying array of variables, but here's the kicker. DoorDash uses an opaque algorithm to determine base pay. This can be as low as $2 per delivery, which is shockingly low. But surely tips make up for it, right? Well, not so fast. DoorDash has been caught with its hand in the tip jar before. And even with tips, many Dashers report earning less than minimum wage after expenses. The result is a workforce constantly on edge, never knowing if the next delivery will be worth their time and gas. It's a system that turns the simple act of bringing someone their dinner into a high-stakes gamble fraught with uncertainty. Last but not least in our triumvirate of trouble is Walmart's delivery service, Spark. Now, you might think, surely Walmart, the retail giant, can afford to pay its drivers fairly. Well, prepare to be shocked. Spark's pay structure is about as clear as the water in a plague-infested well. They offer a base pay for each delivery, which can vary wildly. But here's the rub: drivers often report that these calculations seem arbitrary at best and downright deceptive at worst. Add to this the fact that Spark, like its gig economy cousins, doesn't cover vehicle expenses or provide benefits. Drivers are left to shoulder the burden of wear and tear, gas and insurance. The result? Many Spark drivers find themselves working long hours for wages that, after expenses, dip below minimum wage. They're not just delivering groceries, they're delivering their financial stability into the gaping maw of corporate greed. Section 5, Lives on the Line, Real Stories of Gig Economy Struggle. Now let's put some faces to this widespread plague of underpayment and exploitation.
Meet Sarah, an Uber driver from Chicago. Sarah started driving to supplement her income as a dedicated teacher. Now she's working 60 hours a week just to keep her head above water, struggling to make ends meet.
Then there's Miguel, a DoorDash driver in Los Angeles. Miguel lost his stable job during the pandemic and turned to delivery work to survive.
Some weeks I make less than minimum wage after expenses, he says, shaking his head. I'm delivering food to people in nice houses while wondering if I'll be able to afford dinner myself, he adds.
And let's not forget about Linda, a Spark driver in rural Texas. Linda, a retiree, thought Spark would be a good way to earn extra money in her golden years. Instead, she's watching her hard-earned savings dwindle away.
I'm putting more miles on my car than I can afford to maintain, she sighs, feeling defeated. And the pay? It's barely enough to cover gas some days, let alone other expenses. These aren't isolated cases. They're the norm in the gig economy, a harsh reality for many. Section 6, Flawed Foundations, Dissecting the Pay Structure Problem. Now let's put this pay structure under our plague doctor's microscope. What we see isn't pretty. It's a system designed to maximize profits for the companies while minimizing payouts to workers. First, there's the classification of workers as independent contractors. This neat little trick allows companies to avoid providing benefits, minimum wage guarantees, or job security. Then there's the algorithmic black box that determines pay. These algorithms are about as transparent as a plague doctor's mask. They can change rates at will, leaving workers in a constant state of uncertainty. Add to this the lack of protections against oversaturation of the market. These companies flood areas with workers, driving down everyone's earnings. The result? A workforce that's overworked, underpaid, and constantly on edge. It's not just unfair, it's unsustainable. Section 7, Roadmap to Reform, Concrete Steps for Change. But fear not, my plague-fearing friends. Change is on the horizon. Just as we develop vaccines to fight real plagues, we can develop solutions to this economic epidemic. Here's our roadmap to reform, our prescription for a healthier gig economy. First, companies must provide transparency in their pay algorithms, no more black boxes. Workers deserve to know exactly how their pay is calculated with no hidden surprises. Second, we need to establish minimum earnings guarantees. After expenses, no worker should earn less than the minimum wage. Third, these companies need to contribute to workers' vehicle expenses and provide basic benefits, health insurance, paid time off, retirement contributions. These shouldn't be luxuries. They should be standard. Lastly, we need to rethink worker classification. The binary choice between employee and independent contractor is outdated. We need a new category that provides flexibility and protections for all. It's time for our laws to catch up with the realities of the modern workforce and ensure fairness. Section 8, Consumer Power, Your Role in the Revolution. Now, you might be thinking, Dr. Plague, what can I do? I'm just one person. But remember, every plague starts with just one infected flea. Your actions matter. You have power. It's time to use it. First, tip generously and in cash when possible. Yes, it's a band-aid on a gaping wound, but it helps. Every dollar matters to these workers. Second, support ethical alternatives. Some companies are trying to do right by their workers. Seek them out. Use them. Promote them. Third, communicate with the companies you use. Let them know you care about how they treat their workers. Lastly, vote with your wallet. If a company consistently mistreats its workers, stop using their service. Section 9, Digital Uprising. Harnessing social media for justice. In the age of the internet, our voices can spread faster than any plague. It's time to start an epidemic of awareness. Let's make fair pay go viral. Start by sharing stories. Use hashtags like #FairPayNow or #GigWorkersUnite. Make TikToks about the realities of gig work. Tweet your experiences, post on Facebook, create a digital plague of information that can't be ignored. Join online communities of gig workers. There's strength in numbers. Engage with influencers and celebrities who use these services. Ask them to speak up for fair treatment of workers. And don't forget the power of online petitions and email campaigns. Your tweet today could be the spark that ignites a revolution tomorrow. Section 10, Legislative Leverage, Pushing for Protective Policies. Now let's talk about the big guns legislation. Just as we need laws to prevent the spread of actual plagues, we need laws to protect workers in the gig economy. Start by contacting your local representatives. Call them, email them, tweet at them, let them know this issue matters to you. Demand action. Ask for hearings, push for new laws. Support ballot initiatives that protect gig workers. California's Proposition 22 was a setback, but the fight isn't over. Push for federal action too. The PRO Act, which would make it easier for gig workers to unionize, is a good start. And don't forget about local ordinances. Cities and counties can pass their own laws to protect gig workers. Your voice, your vote, your action can be the cure for this plague of unfair labor practices. Section 11, The Cure for Corporate Greed, a call to action. And so, my plague-fighting friends, we come to the end of our diagnosis. The gig economy is sick, infected with the virus of corporate greed and worker exploitation. But we are not helpless, we are not powerless, we are the cure.
Remember Sarah, Miguel, and Linda. They're not just statistics, they're people. People who deserve dignity, fair pay, and security. People who are the backbone of services we've come to rely on. They deserve better. We can do better.